Expectations, frustration, and relief. That's the title of what I'm about to read and share with you. We begin with expectations. No, that's not true. We begin with perceptions. Just perceptions, the hearing of sounds and so on. We begin with perceptions. From out of our capacity to perceive, our awareness, perceptions arise. Then we naturally presume that our perceptions are not only accurate, but lastingly accurate. And we may even believe that they're complete. Like if we have 3 or 5 perceptions, we think that's all of them. Why? Because those are the ones that we're familiar with. And we're not familiar with any others yet, so why not think those are the only ones possible? So we make our perceptions into presumptions and then expectations. We expect other people to have exactly the same perceptions that we have. No variation, to perceive exactly what we perceive and perceive nothing else. That becomes our presumption and even our expectation for how other people will be in the future, should be now, should have been in the past. And then we also have concerns about expecting our own perceptions to remain consistent, not to learn anything new over time, and not to come to question our past perceptions, presumptions, expectations, conclusions, and so on. So eventually we may notice that at least a few of these old perceptions and presumptions and expectations do not match with our experiences, with our new experiences, our current experiences, even our past experiences. We may find this gap or lack, this mismatch, we may find it confusing, frustrating, frightening, disappointing, like something that produces sadness and grief, disappointment, disillusioning, infuriating, or even shameful. There's a mismatch between our expectations and what actually happens, and then all of these other possible experiences can arise. We may resist admitting to ourselves or to others that our expectations do not fit reality. They don't perfectly match. That our presumptions do not fit reality, or did not fit reality. And that our perceptions may have not precisely fit the rest of reality, or only somewhat precisely. There are other perceptions that might have been more precise than the ones we had. And to admit that would be to admit imprecision. That's all. However, there may be quite a bit of resistance to admitting imprecision. We may be feeling very scared and competitive, and we want to be the most precise and the best perfectionist. And so we have this orientation of hiding any imprecision in our own perceptions, even resisting the recognition within ourselves of a variation between our perceptions or expectations and what actually is our experience. So, in other words, our past perceptions and our present experiences might not match totally. We might learn something new. And in the face of learning something new, we may resist learning. We may have some fear to experience before we are receptive and open to really learning something new. It's similar to if somebody is speaking a foreign language very quickly and expecting comprehension on the part of the listener. Well, that's not realistic. So there's some digesting to do first before learning something new. Sometimes we have so much learning that we're still doing that to bring in new learning and to bring in new information can seem disruptive. And it may be that those interruptions or disruptions, while resisted, may actually be beneficial and help us to quickly clarify something. But it can take a rather abrupt interruption to remove us from a ineffective or slow digestive process in terms of learning some old thing. It's like, as I'm using this analogy of digestion, it's like if somebody's having trouble digesting something, well, one may be forced to vomit it or caused to vomit up some substance, and then some other substance can be put in and digested without the other, maybe it's a bunch of alcohol. So much alcohol is in someone that they're going to have that vomiting to remove the toxicity of the alcohol, and then their physiology, their biochemistry will shift from being drunk and in this extremely aggravated, agitated state to being maybe just needing some water, needing to hydrate, or maybe could be receptive to some other medicine or nutrition. But in the moment of having a severe reaction to toxic levels of alcohol or some other substance, the first thing to do may be a severe interruption or disruption to the attempts to digest and handle the alcohol. Maybe something needs to be brought out, to be brought up, to be discontinued, to be halted, to be interrupted, to be disrupted. Maybe that is relevant, practical, functional before adding any new information, any new perspective, any new perceptions. So going gradually and with attention to the interaction and the response is important. We may resist admitting to ourselves or to others that our expectations did not fit reality, that the precision of our perceptions is not complete, that the precision can change over time. As our old perceptions may become more precise over time. We may find that some of our perceptions were even inaccurate. Not just incomplete, but inaccurate. We may blame others for the gap between our expectations about our experience and our actual experience. We may deny our naivety or our imprecision arrogantly. We may arrogantly deny our naivety or imprecision and then blame others for exposing our naivety, our imprecision, and attack them, ridicule them, withdraw from them, condemn them. etc. So we may favor our expectations over the rest of reality. We may favor our expectations over the rest of reality. And the rest of reality is pretty big. So to dismiss all the rest of reality, to disregard it, or to distance ourselves from it so we can look at our expectations, it's a pretty extreme thing to do. However, to distance ourselves from the rest of reality does give us the opportunity to really closely look at those expectations. What are they? We might even look at how they form, but that isn't necessarily important. If we can simply recognize expectations as being merely expectations, then there's no real conflict between the reality of our expectations and any of the rest of reality. We just say, okay, here's some expectations and here's what actually happened. That doesn't automatically produce any confusion or any frustration. I have some expectations, or I did have some expectations, and here's what happened. That's simple, potentially, very simple. We may favor our expectations over the rest of reality, elevating the reality of our expectations into an arrogant ideal or a set of arrogant ideals to which we may then struggle to make the rest of reality conform, or at least appear to conform, all in service to our arrogant ideals, our expectations. When I say our expectations, I mean here again our we could say sacred expectations, our undistinguished expectations, the expectations and presumptions that we may not even admit that are expectations. That's how it should be, not how I expected it to be. If I'm phrasing my relationship with parts of reality as how reality should be, and I have angst and contempt and frustration and so forth, that's distinct from saying I expected reality to be this and this and not that.